This is Talkback with Peter Christian and John King. 721-1290 or 1-800-568-5309.
This is Newstalk KGVO, AM 1290 and now 101.5 FM.
Welcome, everybody. It's Monday. It's the Monday edition of Talkback, brought to you by Bitterroot Motors, the first half hour. Doing it right for more than 42 years. Also brought to you by Temperite Service. Call Team Blue at 728-1111 and by the Mustard Seed Restaurant. Oh, my gosh, it's Monday. What a great day. Woo, doggies. Monday is the best day of the week. Okay, especially after what happened yesterday.
I'm guessing you're referring to a football game, maybe
Seattle.
the first football game in a long time that I wish I had watched.
Yes, the Seattle versus Green Bay football game. How can I put this gently? Seattle could not find its rear end with both hands, okay, for almost, the first three quarters of the game, okay? At Green Bay, and Seattle was really lucky. Their defense kept them in the game by keeping Green Bay out of the end zone twice, so they only got 6 points instead of 14 points, which would have been fatal for the Seahawks. But as it turned out, they had some lucky breaks. They had a fake field goal attempt that ended up being a touchdown, and that got the crowd going. And so they had all sorts of lucky breaks, and then the onside kick, and. So I think the kicker had only had one of four onside kicks successfully recovered by his own team up until that point. Well, the onside kick went up, and a gentleman named Brandon Bostic, who was evidently a tight end for Green Bay, was supposed to block so that Jordy Nelson on the hands team, could get the ball, recover it, and they could have run out the clock, and that would have been it. They would have been going to the Super Bowl. But Mr. Bostic got excited and thought, I can get this. It's right there. It's He jumps up. It boink off his his face plate, or I'm sorry, his face guard on his helmet, and right into the hands of a Seattle player. Boom! Down the player goes. They go score a touchdown. And then,
does that make Bostic the new 12th man?
Let me tell you. But listen, Green Bay didn't give up. I kept shouting, no, don't score. Wait until there's 2 seconds left. Because if you give, Aaron Rodgers enough time, he'll come back down and tie it up with a field goal, which is exactly what they did. So the game went into overtime. Seattle wins the toss. They score a touchdown pass. The game is over. And there is no truth to the rumors that Mr. Bostic has been seen hitchhiking his way home from Seattle back to Green Bay because they didn't want him on the plane. No, there's no truth to that rumor. But
for those that didn't catch the game, when the special event happens, I guess the first big event was when they faked the field goal and made the touchdown. Right, that was kind of the shift in.
Oh yeah, the momentum shifted hugely at that point.
The score is what, like 19-6?
It was. I think 16 to maybe 19-6, something like that.
And then then there's a touchdown right after that, and then this the Bostic cacophony,
right,
and then
disaster. Yeah,
and then that pulls them up enough to win.
Well, no, that pulled them.
There a third score
that pulled them to 2 points or to 1 point ahead. All right, and they decided to go for two, which they did, and that was successful. So now they're 3 points ahead of Green Bay. And Green Bay still has about 1 minute and 30 seconds, which is an eternity for a quarterback the quality of Aaron Rodgers. Okay, he's got all his receivers, boom, boom, boom. They made it close enough. They kicked a field goal with like 12 seconds left. They went into overtime. So, and then the pass from Russell Wilson and this is the really ironic thing. Okay, Russell Wilson threw 4 interceptions, which has never happened before. 4 interceptions in the first half to one guy, a guy named Jermaine Kearse, pardon me. And who do you suppose he threw the winning touchdown pass to?
Jermaine Kearse.
It was so deliciously ironic.
So he broke the curse.
Yeah. I guess you could say that. So anyway, I along the sidelines is a face familiar to many University of Montana Grizzly fans. Brock Coyle, former number 56, a linebacker for the Montana Grizzlies, now is primarily a special teams player, but has played linebacker for Seattle earlier in the season when one of their main players was injured. He was out there. He was, just jacking up the crowd, getting them going, and it was so cool to see a University of Montana alum right there on the sideline going to the Super Bowl for the second year.
That is pretty cool. Now, was he involved in any of those special teams plays?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, he made several special teams tackles, and he's a fierce special teams player. He knows the way to make and stay on the team is to really excel in special teams, and he's done a great job. And then in the next game, a former Montana Grizzly, Colt Anderson, who is an Indianapolis Colt, ironically, he made a couple of special teams tackles for the Colts, although the Colts got hammered 45-7 by the New England Patriots. So anyway, it's going to be the Patriots versus the Seahawks, and here's my beef, okay? Here's my beef. Happens every year. The teams are excited. They're ready to go. Why can't they just, the next week, play the Super Bowl? No, they have to have 2 weeks off, and then in 2 weeks, there'll be the Super Bowl. I don't understand that.
They gotta amp it up. They gotta get as much money as they can out of this event, right?
I guess. I've never understood that. Just get ready. Guys have earned the right to go to the Super Bowl. Let's go over to wherever. I think it's going to be in Texas, in Arlington, Texas, and let's play the game next Sunday and get it over with.
They don't really have to. I mean, no matter when they play this game, everyone's going to watch it.
Well, absolutely.
So it's not like there's a clock ticking.
Well, I know, but it's just like, gosh, it's February. I mean, it's going to be in February. Come on, guys. And then, of course, in just a couple of weeks after that, in March, Grizzlies spring football drills begin. So there won't be much of a layover.
Physically, where will the Super Bowl game be played?
It's going to be, I believe it's going to be in, and now please correct me if I'm wrong, folks, I believe it's going to be in Arlington, Texas. I believe it's Texas Stadium.
Do you know how they choose where
it's a bid process, I guess. It has to be played someplace where the weather is not going to be brutal in the middle of February. So I believe it's going to be in Texas.
So Seahawks probably don't get to host a whole bunch of these.
Well, you never know. Never know. I don't know. Anyway, so that's what happened yesterday. If you would like to comment on that, we'd love to hear from you. 721-1290. I want to know how many of you, and you got to be honest now, how many of you turned off the game in the middle of the third quarter saying, "Oh, it's hopeless, Seattle. Oh, they've never played worse. This is terrible. I can't watch. I love my Seahawks, but I can't watch." And then you missed the end. 721-1290 is our number. We're coming right back after this quick timeout. All right, I knew it was one of them there southwestern states. It's in Glendale, Arizona. I'm sorry. Okay, I got it wrong.
When we get something wrong on Talkback, we know pretty quickly.
Oh, absolutely.
The phone lines were off the hook.
People are, and for the most part, people are very nice. They didn't say, "Tell that idiot it's not to Texas, it's at Glendale, Arizona." They just said, "Please remind Peter that it's in Arizona." Right?
Peter actually didn't take those phone calls. Most of those were handled by me. I will withhold comment on what they said.
Go ahead.
No, I'm just joking.
You can say
no one said idiot, Peter. No one was mean to Peter.
I've got really thick skin, John. It's okay. All right, but we have Matthew on the line. Matthew, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, guys. I'm doing good.
Now, you were telling me a story about the fact that you didn't watch the game, but you had a lot of friends that did turn it off, right?
Yeah, I was. I just haven't watched any football this year, and I had some jobs I was trying to tie up yesterday, and I was in people's houses and stuff like that, and they had the game off pretty early in a couple places, and a couple friends I ran into had the game off, and they were all Seattle fans, and they were like, "I've never seen Seattle do so bad." So I was going around even after the game was over, going, "Oh, poor Seattle, too bad they lost." And it wasn't until last night, past dinner time, when I took my work partner to his house, when his roommate said, "Well, no, Seattle won." And I was like, "Well, what the heck?" I didn't even watch the game, and they had me believing they had lost.
It was about the most improbable finish you can imagine. But, when you see a guy like Russell Wilson break down and weep openly at the closing gun after he threw that winning touchdown pass. You knew that, they believed they could do it, but it was one of those deals where, how in the world did this happen?
Just shocking.
Yeah, and of course the Packer fans. The Packer fans thought they had it made.
Yeah.
Oh, they owned Seattle for like 99.9% of the game.
Yeah.
It was brutal.
Yeah, it was really tough for me to even know what was going on because I had to move some furniture and stuff. And
wow.
Out of one place into another, so I was in 4 different homes, and there's different fans in each one, and I didn't even look at any of the TVs, and I just went strictly by what people were telling me.
Well, they were mistaken.
Yeah. My buddy's roommate, he gave me the whole story about everything, Russell Wilson's reaction and all that.
Right.
And it made me wish I would have watched it.
It was epic. It really was. And I'm sure, if you have NFL Network, I'm sure they'll be replaying it and you can watch the whole thing.
You want to watch grown men cry?
Absolutely.
There's opportunities for that.
Yeah.
I do have that, but I just haven't watched it this year.
A good deal, man. Thanks for the call, Matthew.
Yeah, you guys have a great day.
Take care, man. Appreciate it. All right, 721-1290.
The last time Peter cried, I believe, was watching Maleficent and being upset that they turned the bad guy into the good guy.
Well, that was bad, but yeah. Anyway, I was upset about that. But anyway, it was my son Luke and I watched the game together, and it was really the first time all year we've had a chance to really get together and watch the game. And so we're looking at each other in the middle of the third quarter thinking, well, we don't want to turn the game off because, it's not often we get a chance to, we'll watch it to the finish. We'll watch Green Bay hoist the trophy and, yippee skippy, and all the people in Seattle will cry and go home and it'll be terrible and they'll criticize the coach and the team and everything. And as a matter of fact, during the time when there were 4 interceptions, the crowd was actually booing.
Booing Seattle?
The 12th man was booing its own team.
Really?
Yeah, but not a lot, but some. And I'm sure that they were set upon by their fellows.
Well, I would boo an interception, wouldn't you?
Well, especially 4 of them.
It's kind of a,
yeah. But anyway, they stuck to it. They overcame, all right? And they endeavored to persevere, and they won the game.
Is that Don Quixote?
I don't know who that is. That's just endeavoring to persevere. Anyway, so congratulations to Seattle, and congratulations to Tom Brady, who's not my favorite player in the world, but man, they just whooped up on Indianapolis. So 2 weeks from now, in Glendale, Arizona, thank you very much, the Seattle Seahawks and the New England Patriots. I imagine that the Patriots are probably a favorite right now, especially when you look at the way they dispatched Indianapolis. 45-7 was the final score.
Are they good at catching interceptions?
Yeah, they're very good. Yeah. So we'll see what happens. See, Seattle has not been as dominant this year as they were last year. I mean, their defense is outstanding and incredible, but their offense has been. They lost a couple of their star receivers, and they really struggled in the early part of the season, but they got things rolling enough to get into the championship game, and they pulled it out at the end, and they're going to the Super Bowl. So I'm not sure what else people could possibly want. So anyway, 721-1290 is our number. 1-800-568-5309 is our number. If you want to talk about that, that's fine. We have some other things that John has prepared. Well, shall we get Wes on first?
Sure, it's about the game.
Good morning, Wes. What's on?
Oh, good morning. What a game. And,
wow.
And incidentally, I was looking on Drudge this morning, and Seattle is a 2.5-point favorite.
Are they really?
Yeah.
Seriously?
I don't know how they ranked that. I've never understood that, but
wow.
They're a favorite. But yeah, I was thinking the same thing you were thinking, like, oh, man, what a game for everything to go wrong that could go wrong for Russell Wilson and the Hawks.
Man, I mean, he throws not, and all three of the 4. Is that right? 3 of the 4 interceptions went to Curse.
Yeah, the same guy.
And then he's the one that ends up catching the winning pass for a touchdown to end the game.
Oh yeah, that's just amazing.
That was deliciously ironic.
I was really hoping that the Packers would show up so they'd make a game of it, but I was hoping our guys would have shown up in the first half of the game too.
I take it you were rooting for Seattle.
Well, I was definitely Seattle fan. I just didn't want a blowout. I wanted some good football, and boy, did we ever get it.
Well, it was amazing. And as a matter of fact, my wife and I would go to kind of our Saturday date is going to Costco. Woo-woo! woo, getting a gourmet lunch and just getting our groceries.
Gourmet $1.50 Polish dog.
Dang straight, man.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. So, and of course, by the way, gas is $1.89 a gallon there, in case you're wondering. So anyway, so as we're out there, and down every aisle are people with Russell Wilson Seattle jerseys. I mean, they were all over the place. So it was pretty cool.
That's awesome. I mean, it was some great football, and boy, when they pulled ahead with that 2-point conversion and then the onside kick, that was just amazing.
Yeah, the onside kick, a play that will live in infamy for Green Bay fans.
Oh yeah. Well, my wife even was walking through, and she sat down and she watched most of the fourth quarter with us and was asking questions.
Wow.
Really getting into the game. So that was really good.
That was
good football.
So it was instructive as well as entertaining.
That's right.
Excuse me, guys. So why isn't this ball round?
Back to Oklahoma. I think I still got a job in that oil rig of mine.
Okay, buddy. Thanks for the call, Wes. Take care, man. All right, 721-1290. We're going to come right back with more Talk Back right after this. Hey, it's Talk Back, 721-1290, 1-800-568-5309. John King is over there. Now, John, you have prepared, as you always do, as our wonderfully prepared show producer. You got some stuff you want to share with us here.
Yeah, so this actually came across the newswire around Christmas time. We were on vacation at the time.
Right.
But it was such a little gem that I had to save it. And I was looking through the logs, and I was like, man, we got to play this.
All right.
Every day I've been waiting for something, but there's always something else to talk about. Of course, we had Charlie Hebdo and all this other stuff going on. So anyway, I thought today would be a good day to play it. Anyway, this is a little piece of audio that was tracked on a website called InfoWars, which I'm not a big fan of. I think it's mostly conspiracy hooey, but whatever.
Right, yeah.
I'm sure lots of listeners know what it is and hate me for saying that I don't like it.
I know.
So anyway, this is
Mr. Jones, I believe.
This is Alex Jones.
Yeah.
This little piece though, it's real kind of news. I mean, I guess it actually affected a local community not far from here over in Spokane County.
Right.
And so, just a hop, skip, and a jump to our west here.
Yeah.
So go ahead and play the clip. It's about the militarization of police and specifically MRAP vehicles, which is mine-resistant, assault-protected vehicles.
Wow.
And whether or not what they would be used for. And here's the clip and how one county deputy responded to the question of what they would be used for, which outraged everybody.
Spokane County Sheriff Ozzie Knezovich is speaking out now about a video that's circulating the internet. It shows one of his deputies saying big military equipment is needed to handle the so-called constitutionalists in our area. KXY4's Allie Norton joins us now live in the studio. Allie, there's been a lot of strong reaction to this online. How's the sheriff responding to all this?
Well, Nadine, it has triggered a lot of comments, Nadine. In fact, there's also a protest scheduled for Saturday because of the video. Sheriff Ozzie Knezovich says that it was all taken out of context.
We've got a lot of constitutionalists and a lot of people that stockpile weapons.
The comment only lasted seconds, but it was long enough to make its rounds online. A Spokane Valley deputy saying the department's SWAT vehicle is needed because of constitutionalists who stockpile weapons and ammunition.
I mean, we've got a lot of constitutionalists and a lot of people that stockpile weapons.
The video, published by InfoWars website on Sunday, has nearly 3,000 comments, mostly people outraged, saying the sheriff's office should protect the Constitution, not be afraid of those who defend it.
There is no way this equipment will ever be used against any law-abiding citizen. It will never be used to come and take your guns away.
The recording happened at the Holiday and Heroes event 2 weeks ago. Some deputies went shopping with underprivileged children while others stood outside with the vehicle known as an MRAP and talked with families coming by. One woman recorded the interaction.
Her opening statement to the deputies was, this was all propaganda. We were just there to desensitize the children to the equipment, the MRAP.
Knezovich identifies the deputy as 20-year law enforcement veteran Jerry Moffitt, who also served in the United States Army. Knezovich suspects the comment was part of a longer conversation, and only this statement ended up online. Some would argue it doesn't matter if it was 3 seconds or 30 minutes long. It was still said at some point, and it is striking a chord, so much so that a protest has been organized for this Saturday at 2 p.m. here at the Spokane Valley Precinct on East Sprague.
I was shocked. I was appalled. I couldn't believe that a deputy would make that kind of a comment
Scott McClay is organizing Saturday's protest. He and other protesters will be asking Knezevich to return the MRAP to the military.
Obviously, it doesn't serve a useful purpose if it's considered by some of his deputies to be for the purpose of rounding up constitutionalists and people who are law-abiding citizens.
Okay, there you have it.
There you go.
Wow.
We are taking your comments
Yeah,
on militarization of police in general, but I really wanted specifically to talk a little bit about today what the public thinks about our local law enforcement, whether that's your sheriff's deputies or your Missoula Police Department, or if you live in Hamilton or a Valley County or some other adjacent area. Tell us what you think. Do you think that they're doing a good job, a bad job? Do you think things are getting worse? I mean, obviously, everybody has been watching the news. We've had those 2 shootings here locally. There's another shooting that's on trial. I believe it's in Bozeman. Maybe it's Billings.
It's Billings.
Billings.
That gentleman, by the way, Mr. Morrison, was just cleared over the weekend.
Oh, what, really?
Yes.
Wow, that should be a big one. That was one that a lot of people got to watch.
Yeah, Mr.
Via the dash cam.
Mr. Ramirez was killed. He was unarmed, and Morrison was cleared of any wrongdoing in that shooting.
Anyway, give us a call, 721-1290. We'd like to get the word on the street on this. If you think it's, or is this whole thing, this whole story,
It's much ado about nothing.
much ado about nothing and something that's overhyped by people that want to get headlines?
You know, in my discussions with law enforcement folks, they see. Well, let's put it this way: they do not see the specialized vehicle that the county has as, quote, a military vehicle. It's just kind of like an armored car that banks use, delivery companies use to, and the reason it's armored is because many times these guys get shot at. And so in order to get them closer to a situation where they can be more effective to do their job as law enforcement personnel, they need a vehicle that will protect them while they're getting into position.
Well, there was a little standoff here in town about a year ago where they used that armored vehicle, and the guy that was in the house, whether, I don't know, I haven't followed that case after the event, but I remember he did take a shot or two at the vehicle that hit the door.
That particular vehicle took 6 bullets.
Oh, wow. 6.
And not only that, but from what I understand, he also shot at the little robot vehicle that they sent in with a cell phone. He shot at that too.
I hope it makes R2-D2 sounds when it gets shot.
I don't know. Good heavens. Okay, well, we're going to take a break. What do you think? Lines are open, 721-1290. You got any opinions one way or another? Love to hear from you. And we'll be right back after this time out. Hey, we're back on Talkback, 721-1290. Guess what? Everybody wants to talk about this. So let's get right to the phones, and we'll waste no time at all. And Craig, you're up first. Good morning. You're on Talkback. Hi.
Hey, up and at 'em, man. So, my wife and I took a trip here a few years ago, and after we got a little past Butte, we didn't see a police officer one time, and we went through California and Wyoming and the Dakotas and, the western part of the United States, and we had a good time. And then when we started coming back home again, we didn't see a police officer until after we got a little past Butte, and we started seeing lots of cop cars again. And also, we live here on Old Highway 93, and I'll bet you every 500-600 cars that come by is a police officer. And then the other day I was reading the newspaper, and I noticed they were referring to them as peace officers, about this arrest or something. And I thought, well, that's kind of strange. That's what they were supposed to be to begin with, officers of the peace or whatever.
Well, the acronym for COP was Constable on Patrol. So. Yeah.
Oh, well, there you go. Constable. That's a nice one, too.
Yep.
But I usually try to refer to them as police officers, nonetheless. But
I just say sir.
if you think that those people don't work for the government and not you, you're fooling yourself, because they're not here to. I mean, they're here. They like their job.
They're here to uphold the law. I mean, as far as I know.
What's that?
They're here to uphold the law, as far as I know.
Well, I guess I always thought they should be peace officers. I mean,
well, upholding the law.
Doesn't that engender peace?
Engender peace.
I mean,
The peace.
If we had a lawless community, you would have a not very peaceful community.
Well, that's right. That's right. And they really don't like you being armed either. They think they're the only ones that should be armed. And it was great when
that's not necessarily true, by the way.
Well, not to all of them, no. But that sheriff down there in Ravalli County, I was just...
What, Chris Hoffman? Is that who you're talking about?
Well, I don't remember his name. Probably it might have even been Darby. I don't remember. But he wouldn't do all that stuff about registering guns and stuff, and I just thought that was great, you know. But these guys, we all like to refer to them as heroes when they're, and we've so used that word hero so much we've bastardized the doggone word, you know.
Well, isn't putting your life on the line to protect your community something that a hero would do?
Well, no. I don't think so. Okay. I just don't think that. Look, and then if these guys, how often do they say, if I didn't get paid for this job, I'd do it for free? You know?
Don't know many of those.
Many of them. You hear that comment all the time.
Well, listen, we got to get some more calls in. Thank you so much.
All right, you're done.
Have a good one. Russ, you're on Talkback. Hi.
Good morning, guys. And good morning to all the police officers out there. I know across the nation that you guys have been beat up and battered a little bit, and I wanted to let them know that I support them and I would fight next to them. With that said, anybody who has to or feels necessary to put on a bulletproof vest in the morning to go to work, I'd even pray for them. And the thing is that with that authority that they have, I would expect 100% that they uphold the Constitution, defend the Constitution, even against a tyrannical government. And but as far as our police department, they're there to take care of us. And I think the majority of them are really great people. Everybody's fallible. And but I you know, they're out there. They don't get up in the morning and say, hey, you know what, I want to be a cop so I can shoot at people. They get up in the morning and say, you know what, I want to be a cop so I can take care of people. And, you know, like I said, they have my support as long as they stand up and defend the Constitution, even against a tyrannical government.
All right. Thanks for the call, Russ. Have a great day. Pascal, good morning. You're on Talkback. Hi.
Yeah, I kind of agreed with that first caller, you know, that a peace officer was the primary purpose of most police officers years and years ago. If you take the example of the Eric Garner case, let's say a law enforcement officer comes to Eric Garner and say, what you're doing is illegal, we're going to arrest you. A peace officer says, you know, you're not causing any trouble right now. We don't want to have any trouble with you. Just get out of our sight. Arrest you. That's a big difference between law enforcement and peace officer. And there is this attitude out there that constitutionalists are troublemakers.
Well, I know that. I know it is a prevalent thought in the minds of many who have basically tossed the Constitution aside. And unfortunately, what people, I think you probably agree with this, Pascal, whenever someone identifies themselves as a constitutionalist or someone who believes in the Constitution, the attitude has been now to automatically marginalize those people, put them in a little box and say these are nutcases, and we're simply going to watch them as being dangerous. And I think that attitude in itself is dangerous.
It is, because if you look at history, most of the people who were lovers of liberty were lawbreakers, according to the people in control at that time. A lot of people, I'm sure, Peter, you're one of them, and John, you love that movie Braveheart. William Wallace was a lawbreaker.
Yep.
And our founding fathers, as Benjamin Franklin says, will either hang, and we must hang together, or we will surely hang separately.
Yep.
They knew what they were doing, according to the laws of England, was treasonous. So, you know, the doctrine of lesser magistrates, which you had a guy on a couple weeks ago talk about, suggests that even police officers should be a barrier between tyrannical governments. They're not. They're enforcers now of law instead of peace officers.
All right. Thanks for the call, Pascal.
All right.
You have yourself a great day. Appreciate that. Good comments. We're up against a break here, so you can continue talking about this if you'd like. I mean, we just had Police Officer Appreciation Day not long ago, and I think in one city, I think there was a march that people carried signs that said "Blue Lives Matter."
Well, I noticed that on the door, just coming into the building next to Town Square Media, someone had on that day used like blue paper mache or something,
right,
put it over the door, and it said "Police Lives Matter" on the door.
Interesting.
And it's Law Enforcement Appreciation Day. The only reason I remember it is because it spells lead.
Aha! There you go. So nice acronyms.
Yes.
We're going to come right back. We'll continue to talk about this, but John has more to share with us from his collection here in just a moment. This is Talkback. 721-1290 is our number. 1-800-568-5309. Or you can get your comment on our Facebook page. By the way, took a little heat from my friends over on egrizz.com. We had Coach Bob Stitt.
Oh, yeah.
On last Friday. Was taken to task because we spent too much time haranguing the poor coach about the Grizzly fight song.
That was your plan.
I know that was my idea, and the reason I did that is because I was hoping that we would be deluged with calls for the coach from loyal Grizz fans, and that way we wouldn't have had to do that. But we didn't get any.
No one called.
So in the last 10 minutes, I had asked all the questions I had. I said, well, let's just do the Grizzly fight song thing, and it probably didn't turn out as well as it could have. But the coach, being the good sport that he is, he's a good guy. So.
Also, I thought it was kind of interesting reading the lyrics to the Grizzly fight song, which I never had paid attention to before.
Well, there you go. Let's get Catherine on the line. Good morning, Catherine. What's up, kid?
Oh, good morning. I just actually have one comment on the Grizz thing. Why don't you guys have the lyrics on the Jumbotron so that people can follow along? Because most people don't know the lyrics.
Well, there is one thing that I have asked Bryn Malloy, who is the producer of the pregame and the show. We call it the greatest show in Montana. You know, when everybody stands up at the beginning at the pregame to sing the Montana song, Montana, mm-hmm. I would wager that 90% of the people in the audience have no idea what the words are. And so I have encouraged her to put the words up on the screen.
That would be an excellent idea.
So anyway.
Okay. All right. About the police.
Would you like me to recite the Up with Montana lyrics for you?
We're good with that. People, we haven't podcasted. You can go back and read it. Listen to Peter's melodic voice over and over if you want.
Go ahead. I have,
by
the way.
I have a copy of it someplace. Who knows?
Go ahead.
Okay, the few times that it's happened, I've only had good interactions with the police here. They're very professional and very kind, and very, very helpful. So, I think we are very lucky in who we have in both our police and our sheriff's departments. High quality people. I sent you, John, a few months ago, I sent you a database that had listed the military equipment sent to each and every police and sheriff's department throughout the country.
Yeah, I do remember looking through that.
Yeah. Mostly it's been rifles and things like that.
And a lot of filing cabinets, if I remember.
Yeah, firing cabinets.
I don't know. I was really worried about the military-grade filing cabinets.
Were you?
Yes.
Okay. And third, I would prefer that the military equipment that we taxpayers pay for would be sent back to the United States for use rather than left overseas. Because we pay a lot of money for that equipment, and it sure doesn't, as long as it's taken care of, deteriorate over time. So it can be useful here. And fourthly, I guess there's a lot of things that those armored vehicles can be used for that do not have anything to do with dealing with constitutionalists. There's a lot of drug interactions and things. So I would prefer the police be able to at least match the firepower of some of the criminal cartels and stuff.
Or just a simple armed standoff.
Or an armed standoff.
We had one just over the weekend, if I'm not mistaken.
Up in Hamilton,
that's right.
yeah. Although the man, it was found out later he didn't have firearms. He did have several knives in his possession, but he was taken into custody. They waited him out, and some very, very, very weary law enforcement folks stayed up for like 25, 30 hours, finally went to bed after he gave himself up about 6:30 Sunday morning, and so nobody got hurt, and so all went well in that one.
Did he have a hostage with him? Is that
No,
what was,
no, he was by himself.
Just
from what I understand.
Threatening people outside the window with a knife?
I guess so.
Odd.
Huh.
So.
Okay. All right. Well, anyway, that's all I had to say. Thanks.
Thanks, Catherine. Appreciate the call. Eric, you're on Talkback. Hi.
Yes, I got a couple of comments. I have a friend who was involved in law enforcement. He calls cops today the muscle of the rich. And I have spoken to a deputy who said that he would do anything his department told him to do. But the real problem in my mind is you have police driving around in their matrix-connected patrol cars with a dossier on all of us. And if that doesn't make you angry, I just don't know what would. In the aftermath of 9/11 and the Patriot Act and the creation of fusion centers and the NSA spy grid, all this information on you comes down to the patrol car in your city.
Okay.
And this really, let's just forget about the unjust shootings for a minute and think about that and let that sink in. They have all your information on you.
Why should that bother me? Eric, I have nothing to hide, man.
Well, that's it. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I don't first of all, I hear the passion in your voice, and I know how upset you are, and I don't mean to make light of it. But for me personally, I'm thinking they can have all the information they want on me. I don't care. I'm an open book, man. I've got nothing to hide from anybody.
Well, I'm not hiding anything either.
Well, that's the inference.
However, have you heard of the MIAC report, the Missouri Information Analysis?
No, I must have missed that one.
Okay, the MIAC report.
John's looking it up right now. So go ahead.
Says that, and this is the information that's coming down from the Department of Homeland Security, who's connected to the NSA. People who believe in or are anti-abortion, people who would vote for Ron Paul, people who are Christians who believe in the Constitution, people who are Second Amendment advocates, are all labeled as domestic terrorists. Now, all this stuff might seem benign at first, but they're telling you it's benign. Oh, these armored vehicles will never be used against you. But they create the tools with which a tyrannical government can use them against you. And this is something that our founding fathers warned us about, and people, you want to talk about going back to the Constitution, people disregard the statements of our founding fathers.
All right, Eric. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
About big government and basically what's going on when they have a dossier on you in their patrol cars. It's a violation of our Fourth Amendment rights or our God-given rights. And when they come up to your car and ask for your driver's license, your registration and insurance, just think, papers, please.
All right. Will do. Thanks. Wow. Okay.
I'm curious if we have any deputies or police officers out there that are listening to the show.
Yeah.
If you could give us a call, 721-1290 is the number.
And I realize, you don't have to identify yourselves by name. I mean,
we do first name thing.
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
But what I would like, we can give you a fake name if you want. But what I would like is if you could tell us how much information you actually have. I obviously have never been privy to the hordes of information that are apparently stored on these databases, the matrix-like databases in the vehicles. But I assume it's very benign unless you have a criminal history.
If you have a criminal record, then it's going to come out. Anyway, we're going to come right back with more Talkback in just a moment. Hey, believe it or not, the first hour of Talkback's almost getting ready to wrap up here. We appreciate all your calls this morning, and we'll get G on the phone. Good morning, G. How are you, sir?
Good morning, Peter. Good morning, John.
Good morning.
What's up?
My point of view comes from a military police background. The MRAP or any military vehicle is just a tool. The officers inside are well protected, which we want them to be. They do a nasty job when called upon, and when it's not in use, it's put away. And it can be used in disasters. It can be used in violent situations. It's just a tool. It looks very ominous when you see one.
Well, it looks imposing, doesn't it?
Yes.
And it's supposed to look imposing.
Exactly. But it's just a tool to protect the officer, and the officer is there to protect the public from the bad guy. And I see absolutely no problem with having them used in a very discretionary way, which they have always done. And that's my point of view. I would much rather see all of our military equipment brought home rather than being left in foreign countries. And if they have to sit in Missoula or in Timbuktu, or not Timbuktu.
Technically not part of the contiguous United States.
No, absolutely not.
Right. I want them here, safe, so that if we need them in the future, then they'll be scattered around the country, can be all concentrated and protect our borders or whatever. But I see absolutely nothing wrong with it, and more power to the police officer who has to get into one to try to protect us.
You bet. Hey, thanks for the call, G.
You bet.
Have a great day. All right. We are less than a minute away. We got to take a quick break. 721-1290 is our number. Now, we have another guest coming up at 9:15 tomorrow.
Yeah, 9:15, a group we haven't had on before, National Mining Association.
Okay.
They're going to discuss, Luke Popovich, who's the head of that organization or association, will be talking a little bit about the new EPA clean power rules and how they might affect Montana.
Because we talked with Bob Rowe about this, remember, last Friday on Talkback. He's the CEO of Northwestern Energy. And so some of the, if you will, onerous EPA regulations are coming down, really causing some problems, especially with Colstrip and some of those other power plants. We're going to come back after the top of the hour and discuss that and take your phone calls as well. This is Talkback. Welcome, everybody. It's the Monday edition of Talkback, brought to you by Bitterroot Motors, where they've been doing it right for more than 42 years now. Temp Ride service. Call Team Blue, 728-1111. Also brought to you by the Mustard Seed Restaurant. And he comes ambling in just at the right time. We've been discussing Deflategate over next door. What? Come in here, Billy. Grab that mic. What the heck? This is, believe it or not, this is the first I've heard about Deflategate. What's going on?
So evidently what happened is the New England Patriots, which were the home team, they're supposed to be providing all of the footballs.
This is Billy from the Billy and Shireen show on Kiss FM.
Okay. Thank you guys so much for even having me on for just a quick second.
Well,
we needed an expert on the lack of airfare, so go for it.
Thanks, John. I'll be coming back often. So the home team is supposed to provide the footballs for the whole entire game. The visiting team provides 12 balls as well. The officials didn't do their due diligence in looking and inspecting the balls before the game. They noticed in between the end of the third quarter going into the fourth quarter, so 3/4 of the way done with the game, that the balls weren't inflated to the proper weight. They let it go. It looks like the New England Patriots are going to be penalized for this. They will be taking away draft picks, but there are teams that could have lost due to what people are calling Deflategate, which is almost a form of cheating.
So how much air were they basically playing floppy frisbee out there?
See, you would think that if it was that much, they would have noticed earlier in the game, but, everyone's got to play by the same rules. I understand. There was something that was wrong.
I remember Coach Belichick, who is to some is the evil genius of the NFL. has been caught cheating before.
This isn't the first time he has been caught.
What has he done?
So
spying on other teams.
Spygate. So what he did is he recorded another team's practice to see what they were doing to prepare for this upcoming game against.
Which is against NFL regulations.
I like all the gates.
Yeah.
Well,
it's Watergate, yeah. Deflategate, Watergate.
The fact of the matter is, I understand where he's coming from. He's trying to give his team every single option he possibly can to win. But you got to play by the rules. What are you doing?
So from what you can see, do you think that he's behind this?
Yes.
Nefarious.
Absolutely. I think that there was someone that told him to do it, whether it was Belichick himself or someone else. Someone knew that they were doing something wrong, and they decided to do it anyway. But let me also say, my favorite team in the NFL is now going to be playing the Patriots for the Super Bowl. So, of course, I'm going to give every benefit of the doubt to the Seahawks.
You're in your Seahawks blues, right?
Yes, the old 1980s Chuck Knox Seahawks to show that I'm not a bandwagon fan.
The team, now, will they get to the Super Bowl passing the most interceptions of any team in history? I don't know. Do you know that stat?
John?
It's that.
Really? Hey, really? You want to go there?
Okay.
You're lucky there's not a webcam in here. I'd Indian leg wrestle you right now.
Now, I will tell you that this is something that happened to the Lady Grizz. Okay, when they were on the road playing the University of North Dakota.
Okay.
All right. And they started the game, and they were about midway through the first half of the game, and one of the Lady Grizz players was shooting a free throw, and she noticed, you know what? People don't realize this, but in the NCAA, men's basketballs are a little bit bigger than women's basketball.
Yes.
And the gal who was shooting the free throws, you know what? She was, I grew up playing with the guys. This is a men's basketball.
Okay.
And so they took it to the refs, and the refs said, "Oh, that's interesting." So finally, about 15 minutes later, they were able to roll the women's the rack of women's balls in from a storage facility several blocks down, and they finally got the women had the correct size basketballs to play with.
No, I heard it was even longer than 15 minutes. Like they had the balls stored in a secret location off campus or something.
But see, the thing that I see in that story,
both teams had to play with them,
right?
And see, therein lies. I mean, that could be just one simple error, grabbing the wrong rack of balls.
It was a mistake.
Exactly, a mistake. Now. This other game having to do with getting to the Super Bowl. Something seems a little fishy about that one, but the fact of the matter is Patriots will have to give up draft picks for it.
What we need to do is go find the recorded practices for that team and see if he was practicing with deflated balls.
That's a good point.
And we can mix our gates together.
And we're doing everything we can here, ladies and gentlemen, to not inflect innuendo into this whole thing about the subject matter,
even though it's obvious the Illuminati is behind it.
Yeah, because that would mean we're third graders, and we don't want to do that.
We don't do that. We don't stoop to that level here.
That being said, guilty.
That's right. Go Seahawks and Patriots or scumbags, cheaters. Come on.
Yeah, they're working with deflated balls. That's disgusting. All right, 721-1290 is our number. If you would like to comment on Deflategate. This is turning into a sports talk show.
That's right.
Which is okay. It's fine with me. We can talk about whatever you want. 721-1290 is our number. We are going to be visiting with a gentleman from the National Mining Association here in just a minute. But first, let's get Katie on.
Yeah.
Katie, good morning. You're on Talkback.
Rich and Topics, Katie.
Hey, good morning. I'm calling from Hamilton. Stepped out of my front door on Saturday and was met with about 10 police cars.
Oh, yes, ma'am. Yep. Yeah, tell us what happened.
I was really, really grateful that they were there. There was an officer with a vest on and a large weapon, and he asked me if I needed to leave right then, and I said, yes, I had to go to work. And he said, well, can you leave right now? And I said, I was just warming up my car. I'll go in and get my handbag. And he said, because you're in the line of fire. So I came in and I got my stuff. My daughter was still here. She said that she could stay if she stayed in. So I spent the day at work wondering if I could get home, and I actually was not able to get in until late that night.
Wow. Was your daughter okay?
Yeah, she was fine. She had taken some Benadryl, so she was asleep. She had asked me if I could take her with me.
Sure.
And I said,
Yeah. Well, now from what I understand, the gentleman who had barricaded himself in the apartment right across the way did not have a firearm, but rather had, from what I understand, he had knives. But nobody knew that.
Right. And I spoke to some other neighbors who actually lived right across the breezeway from where he was barricaded. There was nobody in the apartment with him, but the police had gotten a tip that he was trying to obtain firearms.
Oh, wow.
And he was wanted on some outstanding warrants from both New Jersey and from Powell County,
Interesting.
Montana. And if you Google his name, Darren Walp, you'll see some of the, arrest records that...
Yeah, W-A-L-P, right?
Right. Darren
All right.
Walp. I, for one, am so grateful, and they treated me with such care and protection. I mean, I have never, ever looked out my front windshield and seen a police officer with an automatic weapon covering me so that I could get out safely.
Well, Katie, that's very well put, very touching. Thanks for the call.
You're welcome.
You have a great day. All right, and to the Polson Police Department and the Ravalli County Sheriff's Department, kudos to you gentlemen and ladies. And we're going to take a little break. Come right back. 721-1290. Stay with us. The best day of the week. It's Monday. And thanks for joining us here on Talkback. That's John King. And people say, why do you like Monday so much? Well, allow me to explain. Weekends are full of nasty, unstructured time where things don't get done. And so I like Mondays because you're back to the work, the schedule, you got things going on, you're productive. It's good stuff. So.
See, Peter is one of these. He would missionary door to door, 2 by 2, if there was someone else in the world that believed like him. He's always looking for an opportunity to share his faith in Mondays. Even if no one asks directly, he will posit the question just so he could give you the true meaning of life, which apparently is Mondays.
I have heard the truth, my friends, and you are my friends. Okay, well, let's tell you what. Let's get Ben on the line. Ben, I'm sorry, I lost control there for just a second. What's on your mind, sir?
I guess you had a caller earlier that was confused about the term peace officer when referring to police.
Yes, sir.
That's actually the legal definition. If you look under Montana Code, whether it's a sheriff, police, department from city or state, or even cross-deputized federal, they're all considered a peace officer under the law. So that's the correct term.
Well, and the reason they do that is because you've got the police department, you've got the sheriff's department, you've got the highway patrol, you've got fish and game. All these folks are considered peace officers. So.
Yes.
So what about people that work for the Fish, Wildlife, and Parks, wardens? Are they considered
if they are a law enforcement branch, so there is a branch of the wardens that carry firearm and they go through the Montana Law Enforcement Academy, then yes, they're considered a peace officer.
Oh, wow. Okay. So it's kind of a catch-all for any one of those groups.
Basically, anyone that's deputized and can have arrest powers, etc.
Okay. Well, are you personally a peace officer?
I'm not. No, I just work closely with them.
Okay.
Super. Well, we sure appreciate the call.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for setting us straight. We appreciate that. Always like that. By the way, if we get something wrong, we're not infallible, you know.
I know.
We like to pretend we are, but we're not. If we, for instance, when I mistakenly said the Super Bowl was going to be in Texas, well, I got slapped around pretty good because, of course, it's in Arizona, Glendale, Arizona. I was wrong. So if we say something that's incorrect, help us out. You would be helping everyone. We don't want people heading to Texas to watch the Super Bowl, and it's over in Arizona.
Well,
the guys at Talkback said it was supposed to be here.
They even said it with funny sounds and cute sound effects.
Anyway, so we're supposed to be visiting with a gentleman from this organization, right?
Yeah, he's not called me in. Maybe I'll give him a call here in a few minutes, but since we're live on the radio.
Yes, well, you had some other stuff you wanted to share with us.
Okay. Here's a clip that I wanted to share with you. Okay. The first clip is a snap of President Obama introducing a new kind of initiative. Now, the thing that makes it interesting for Missoulians is this is an initiative that was unveiled not long after the rape scandals that went on at the University of Montana and the investigation by the Department of Justice and the NCAA and the Mars rover and
Is this
the
the
Wheaties cereal
It's on Us
company
campaign?
and everybody else.
Is this the It's On Us campaign?
Yes.
Okay.
So anyway, it's called the It's On Us campaign, and it's a campaign to try to get people to pay attention to the issue of rape and to try to address it in their local communities, of course, using federal government funds and authority. So anyway, I just wanted you to pay close attention to some of the president's facts, quote unquote, that he uses throughout this piece, and then I'm going to play another piece after that to kind of balance it out.
Here we go.
Campus sexual assault is no longer something we as a nation can turn away from and say, that's not our problem. This is a problem that matters to all of us. An estimated 1 in 5 women has been sexually assaulted during her college years. 1 in 5. Of those assaults, only 12% are reported. And of those reported assaults, only a fraction of the offenders are punished. And while these assaults overwhelmingly happen to women, we know that men are assaulted too. Men get raped. They're even less likely to talk about it. We know that sexual assault can happen to anyone, no matter their race, their economic status, sexual orientation, gender identity.
Okay, so there you go.
So 1 in 5. Now, this was something that was not just used in this one clip. This was used all over the place. In fact, I heard it used by authorities here locally when talking about the issue at the campus here at the University of Montana.
That's correct.
And every single time I heard that, I was just like, no way, this can't be true. I mean, it just seems so high. I'm going through my head like everybody does when they hear a number that's low enough for them to count it with people that they actually know.
Right.
Like 1 in 4. Well, I know 4 people and none of them have had this happen or, whatever. So
sure.
I did the same thing. I was kind of, well, that doesn't sound right. So anyway, I got this clip. This is some coverage. Some people were looking into the actual statistics.
Britt Hume.
The history of the 1 in 5 and whether or not it's actually applicable in local setting like the University of Montana or elsewhere across the country.
This is rather a lengthy clip. So what we'll do is we'll take our break and we'll come back and we'll set this up again and we'll play this because this is Britt Hume on special report with Britt Hume. So we're going to get to that when we come right back after this quick timeout. Now, the best laid plans, 721-1290 is our number. The guest that we were hoping to have is now with us.
So if you were waiting for those rape statistics and the review of them, sorry to deflate your football, but our special guest did call in today. So
Yes.
we have on the line Luke Popovich. He's the head of the National Mining Association, and I wanted to talk with him a little bit about the upcoming clean power regulations out of the EPA and what they might do to Montana. So welcome to the show, Luke.
Thanks very much. Just a small correction. I'd love to be the head of the National Mining Association, but actually I have a boss who's the head.
Okay, so are you the neck?
And I am the vice president of communications, so let's be sure to correct the record so I'm not promoting myself.
Oh, fair enough.
But if you like, we will be happy to provide the materials to help you get your promotion, Luke.
We are now speaking with the mouth of the National Mining Association, Luke Popovich. So anyway, tell us a little bit about obviously, Mining Association seems to be kind of upset about the proposals and is out on a little bit of a campaign trying to get the public aware about how this might impact those in various states. Tell us how it would affect Montana.
Well, I think it's going to affect Montana very negatively. And the reason I say that is because about 2/3 of your electricity is provided by about 9 coal-fired power plants. And, of course, Montana mines a lot of coal. So you are both deriving a lot of high-wage employment from coal, and coal provides a lot of the affordable electricity for households and businesses in Montana. So you've got a big stake in coal. Unfortunately, the Obama administration, specifically the Environmental Protection Agency, has been rolling out a series of regulations that are going to come down very hard on coal-fired power plants. They've already issued regulations that will have targeted some of your plants for extinction. And the rules we're talking about now that will directly try to reduce carbon for climate change will attack the rest of these plants. And essentially, they are designed to shut these plants down and switch to less affordable energy sources in the future. The issue is, can you maintain your affordable electricity under that sort of regime? And will the impact on high-wage employment and industrial manufacturing be spared? We don't think it will be, and we're encouraged that a lot of other experts who are not in the coal industry but who have looked at these regulations share our concerns.
Now, Luke, this is Peter. I want to jump in here real quick. The criticism of coal, and please correct me if I'm wrong here, is twofold. One, it is an energy source that's coming to the end of its usefulness in this country simply because of other energy forms, so I've heard, such as natural gas, such as hydro. We have the CEO of Northwestern Energy on last week, and he said that they're depending a lot on hydropower, they're depending a lot on natural gas. They're also depending that they have coal as a part of what they do, but it is a lessening impact on the amount of coal that we use for electricity in this state. It's still a very important part, but it's not as important as it has been. So how do you address that?
Well, I think he's correct in the sense that we've throughout the country we've had a huge supply of natural gas come on the market in just the last 5 years that few people predicted, and that's because of new techniques and technologies that have been able to access supplies of gas that have gone into the electricity generation market. But coal is still a very important part of our electricity generation. It still today generates 40% of the nation's electricity, and as I said earlier, much more of states like Montana. So the question is not to eliminate coal, but let's try to make coal cleaner to use. And we can do that with technologies that are on the market today and some technologies that we can develop that are within sight. That would be the most intelligent way to proceed. We keep the reliability that the nation has by having another very, very affordable and stable fuel source, which we have in abundance, and that will keep a check on the rising price of natural gas in future years.
Okay, now Luke, let me
forget it. Yeah, I mean, if you don't have coal in the picture anymore, then the way we see it is you're putting a lot of weight in the saddlebags of natural gas, and there's no way that renewable fuels can fill the gap. I mean, in Montana, renewable fuels right now are about 5% of your total electricity generation.
Oh yeah, if that, yeah,
so, yeah, if that. So, and hydro is a lot. It's about 29%. But the environmentalists don't like hydro power. They want to conserve free-flowing streams and rivers and are against the construction of dams. We don't see hydro having much of a future. So we've got to be really careful going forward that we're not destroying or harming an electricity grid that's been very, very good for the American people, and particularly for Montana for many years.
Now, let me ask you this. A lot of people, we got to go to a break, but I guess when we head back, can you help shape the debate when it comes to the coal plants and these regulations? Because I think if we were to get someone from the other side of the table on the air right now with us, they would say, hey, we're just trying to get these coal plants to start working towards a cleaner coal facility. We're getting rid, and when you say target for extinction, yeah, they're trying to phase out the older, more dirty coal plants and keep the cleaner ones on, the ones that are up to date and running smooth. And so I wanted to get from you a perspective, because I think a lot of people would say, of course, the coal company's going to shout every time there's any regulation that they don't like, and they have the money to do so they're going to have their advocates out there spinning their wheels. It's not really the end of the world. They're just talking like it is, so they don't have to pay as much.
They don't want to spend the money.
Right. Yeah, or is it more than that? So when we get back, I'd like you to take that on if you could.
I also would like, if you don't mind, if you have time, to share with us what those new technologies are, and are they affordably adaptable to plants like Colstrip down in southeastern Montana.
Well, didn't you ever watch that documentary, The Saint? They have cold fusion power. We just haven't been using it. Government's hiding it, I think.
Yeah, we'll be right back. This is Talkback. 721-1290 is our number. We have Luke Popovich on the phone. He's the information guy from the National Mining Association, the information officer. Now, John just asked you a couple of questions. First of all, is what you're saying now the natural reaction of an industry who simply does not want to take on the cost of revising and reforming their power plants?
Yeah, that's not the case. I mean, the fact of the matter is there are very costly technologies that are available today, like integrated gas, combined cycle, ultra supercritical technologies that are available, and that if the public utility commissioners of the states would allow utility companies to pass on some of these costs to the rate base, as is always the case when you're building a power plant in a regulated community, these technologies could be used, and they are extremely effective in reducing what we call conventional pollutants. That is, sulfur dioxide, nitrogen oxide, particulate matter, that are the ones that EPA is typically regulating. We can drive a new plant, for example, built with these technologies today. It's about 90% cleaner than the plant that it would replace that may have been built, say, in the 1960s. But obviously there's a big cost, and it's not a question of the coal industry not wanting to build the plants. It's a question of whether or not the regulators will allow these costs to be amortized over the life of the plant in the rate base.
So
how much would this? I'm sorry. I just wanted to mention that the real issue here, in fact, is the choice between technology and regulation. We believe that the path forward, the best path forward for Americans, is to use technology as we always have in solving problems. Maybe a little more costly way to go today, but it will be far less costly than imposing regulations that will drive up energy costs, electricity costs, for years to come.
How much cost would this put on the ratepayers in, for example, the state of Montana?
Yeah, let's say for Colstrip. I'm sure you're familiar with the Colstrip power plant. It's the biggest in the state, and it provides quite a bit of power to a lot of Montanans.
Well, one study that we have seen, just done several months ago, looked at the impact of EPA's climate change regulations, the ones that that are being proposed now, and that, by the way, your governor does not like. And they have analyzed by state what the likely cost increase would be in wholesale electricity prices if states like Montana were to agree to meet the carbon reduction targets and therefore have to reduce the amount of fossil energy that is used in power plants. And they estimated that Montana's households and businesses would face a 19% cost increase every year, beginning in 2020 when these regulations take full effect. Now, those are wholesale costs. We don't know what the retail cost would be. And these are estimates because no one knows precisely how Montana would go about meeting this reduction. But using the most likely way Montana would adjust its energy mix in order to meet EPA's goal, you're talking about a 20% increase. Now, that may not seem like a lot. If you're a fairly affluent individual, you might say, well, I can afford a 20% hike in my utility bill every month. But there are a lot of people, not only in Montana, but around the country, for whom that would be a very, very tough hardship.
Okay, now you had mentioned, Luke, that it would be nice if organizations like the Montana Public Service Commission would allow the companies to pass that cost, the cost of improvements, on to the consumers in the first place, rather than the company having to foot the whole bill and then somehow recoup that money somewhere. What is the difference here?
Well, the point is that the way it's utility companies, of course, that are building the power plants, and we supply the fuel.
Right.
And so it's utility companies that look at their energy mix, and they look at the environmental standards they have to meet, and they propose, when they're building new plants or modifying existing plants, they propose a way forward, and they know the capital costs that are going to be required, and they ask the utility commission in a regulated state if this is approved, and if they will raise the rates to consumers to afford this equipment, or afford the modifications, or in fact build a plant. This is what typically happens, but also what typically happens is that because the cost of just using conventional power is so inexpensive, the utility commissioners in most states, in most of the time, don't approve these more costly technologies. So now we are seeing EPA by edict saying you're going to have to meet this reduction, this emission reduction target, whether you like it or not,
or close.
And and the cost will go up, not in an increased rate base to households and ratepayers, but it will go up in simply the cost of energy. The power will be more expensive, and we're already seeing that happening across the country. We're seeing real increases in electricity prices, and we're going to see a lot more of them if you simply take away the most affordable electricity sources and replace them with costlier ones. That's the inevitable result. So what we're saying is,
go ahead.
Let's use technology. Let's try to find a way to use the most affordable technologies, keep a reliable and diverse supply of energy that we've always had to generate electricity. If you take coal off the table, you're simply betting that natural gas prices are not going to increase. And that would be a bad bet. If you look at what happened in the 90s, what invariably happens when you start exporting gas, when you start using gas for other purposes other than electricity, and when you start replacing coal with more and more electricity in the with gas in electricity generation, then obviously demand for electricity is going to go up.
Right.
We think gas is great. I'm not criticizing the gas industry. I'm just saying we need to keep the diversity of supply for power, and let's address the environmental issues with technology.
Tell you what, Luke, we have a caller that wants to ask you a question. Would you mind hanging on through the break? Okay.
Not at all.
Luke Popovich is with us from the National Mining Association. Dave, we'll take our break, come right back, and we'll get your comment and your question, and we'll be right back. This is Talk Back, and it's Monday, and we appreciate you being with us this morning. We also want to say thank you to Luke Popovich staying a little bit longer than he had anticipated so we could get Dave's call in. Dave, first of all, thanks for holding. You're on with Luke. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, good morning. I wonder, there's a problem I've heard of coal slag, or at least what I call coal slag, the waste product left over from burning coal. It's been piling up at some power plants. I was wondering if it's being dealt with, or if it's just being left to pile up more and more into big ponds. Can you talk to that issue?
Yeah, that's a good question. In fact, it's a timely one because there are new regulations that are being proposed, which we don't oppose at all. That would strengthen the rules surrounding how coal slag or coal waste that's ashes that's left over from coal combustion is stored, and typically it's stored in sealed lagoons and containers when it's on the site of a power plant. When the ash is on the site of a coal mine, it doesn't present a problem. There again, they're stored in reinforced container ponds so that they don't leach out. Now, there have been, as you may know, there's been an accident, 2-3 years ago now in Kentucky, where a coal slurry pond broke open and spilled slurry into a stream, and that's obviously something that has to be dealt with. So they're looking again at how they can prevent these accidents from from ever happening. But we haven't had yet an accident on the site of a coal mine with coal ash.
Shouldn't the cost of producing coal fire, electricity, be somehow figured into getting rid of it completely? Just storing it in tanks or in ponds seems like a temporary fix. It should be buried.
Yeah. We do store. You do store all sorts of waste, chemical waste, industrial waste, trash, construction waste, and I don't know that coal waste is any different. It is burned. It's not as if it presents a serious or in any way a toxic threat to surrounding communities. And of course, there are a lot of fees that coal companies are required to pay to dispose of coal ash and other leftovers from coal burning. So I think we've got a pretty good handle on that. I don't think it poses an environmental threat. Emissions are another matter, and that's what these regulations are about. And there have been strong controls on emissions from coal burning. And in some cases, let's face it, there should be, and there are. We're simply saying, let's be reasonable with those emissions, and let's don't set that standard at a place deliberately designed to eliminate coal. If the older coal plants should be phased out, that's one thing. But we don't want to get to the point where we're destroying very valuable coal facilities that could be upgraded, that could be modernized.
Okay, Dave, thanks for the call.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. 721-1290. Go ahead, John.
I was going to say we should probably let Luke go.
Yes.
We kept him longer than we were expecting to. But hey, thanks so much for joining us, Luke.
Hey, Luke, if folks want to get more information about your organization, where can they go?
I would go for the issues that we're dealing with, I would ask them to go to countoncoal.com. And they'll find a lot of the facts surrounding the industry and surrounding the regulations that you and I have just been discussing.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks so much for being with us, and hope you have a pleasant rest of the day.
Thanks a lot.
You take care. All right. And, of course, we haven't even mentioned the fact that it's Martin Luther King Jr. Day.
That's right.
We haven't said a word about it. So, by the way, state federal offices closed, a post office, no mail delivery today, banks are closed.
Which means doing the news is going to be so easy this evening.
Yeah. So anyway, 721-1290 is our number, and we might be able to have time to get that comment that you wanted to have on.
I'm sure we can.
So we'll do that when we come back right after this. Okay, we're back on Talkback. 721-1290 is the number. We have a Facebook comment, John.
Yes, we have a real quick comment. This one's from Jim in reference to your, why should I be worried if the police have information about me comment earlier? Because I haven't done anything wrong. Right. Jim says, Peter, it doesn't matter if you've got nothing to hide if they decide what you're, quote, hiding, end quote. Let me track you, record audio from your home, have access to all of your records, and after a year, I will decide what you're guilty of. Most likely eating too much buttered popcorn.
That would be it. I am terribly guilty of that. So let's move on. Now, before Luke called, we were right in the middle of discussing, you were rather incredulous when the president made the announcement of 1 in 5 university-age women or people had been sexually
and not just because
assaulted.
It doesn't seem to fit my life and the people that I know, but also because it doesn't seem to match other statistics that I've read.
Right.
Anyway, so this was taken on by Brett Hume and his team. Go ahead and play the clip.
Here we go.
National fraternity and sorority organizations are urging the University of Virginia to lift its suspension of Greek activities after Rolling Stone acknowledged fundamental flaws in its reporting of an alleged gang rape on campus. Rolling Stone has said its trust in the alleged victim of the attack was misplaced. Let's look at that UVA story and the nationwide issue of sexual assault. Senior political analyst Brett Hume is here with us again tonight. Good evening, Brett.
Hi, Brett. A year ago last March, a Justice Department study found, based on police data, that between 1995 and 2010, the annual incidence of sexual assaults on women in America had declined by 58% to a rate of 2.1 assaults per 1,000 women. You might think that such striking numbers would give pause to the activists, including President Obama, who have been claiming for years that 1 in every 5 women will be sexually assaulted while at college. But no. Activists continue to cite a study published 7 years ago to support their claim. But that study was based on an online survey of 2 universities. It included both attempted and actual assaults, whose definition, by the way, included such things as forced kissing. Something similar is now happening at my alma mater, the University of Virginia, since the collapse last week of Rolling Stone magazine's sensational tale of a fraternity house gang rape there 2 years ago. University President Teresa Sullivan has not lifted her suspension of all UVA fraternities, nor indicated she's the least bit bothered that one of those fraternities and members of it have been wrongly accused. The student newspaper, the Cavalier Daily, took forever to notice something was wrong with the Rolling Stone story, and now editorializes its sympathy for the woman who told the magazine her tall tale. Her story may have fallen apart, but at UVA, the stampede it triggered, like the claims of a national college rape epidemic, continues anyway. Brett?
Brett, there'll be people out there who say, hey, listen, there are a lot of these attacks, assaults that are unreported.
That's true. The data I cited, the police data on reported rapes, and it compared the reported rapes of 1995 against the reported rapes in 2010 and found this big decline, 58%. Now, that doesn't account for every assault ever happened because, as you say, a lot of them are unreported, but it does show a trend. And in order to believe that there's an epidemic, you'd have to believe that while reported rates were declining sharply during that period, that they were exploding, unreported rates were exploding. I think that's a dubious claim. And you'd also perhaps want to believe that in the last 4 years since that data were concluded, that it's gone crazy again, but I doubt that as well.
So, there you go. How does that, when you hear that, how does that make you feel about the last 3.5 years that Missoula, Montana has gone through and continues to go through with the University of Montana, the city of Missoula, the police department, still under the Department of Justice, guidelines of redoing everything, and the fact that could all of that have been due to the fact of these, what we see in from Britt Hume's report, could have been false numbers. Do you remember when CNN was in town with Aaron Burnett and calling Missoula the rape capital of the USA? Do you remember that?
Well, that was Huffington Post writer, if I don't.
Well, not only that, but she was interviewing people, profiling Missoula. This quiet university town. Bad things are going on there.
If Missoula's the rape capital of America, then America's doing pretty good.
Let's get Christine on the line. Hi, Christine. We have 2 minutes. Go.
Quick. I know you guys are almost out of time. That 1 in 5 number, there was a counter paper done on that. Everybody uses that 1 in 5 number. It was from a study that was done. I can't remember where, but it was just done from a college paper, and they interviewed a very small portion of women. And the questions that they ask is what you have to look at, because what they included in as rape was you got drunk at a party and he promised you a relationship and you consented to sex. Things like that.
Oh, trickery.
Like he promised you something, so you agreed to have sex with him and he didn't give you what he promised you. So that's rape.
I don't think that Missoulians would oversell or undersell themselves in order to get sex, though. I mean, that's unlikely, right?
But, that's the stuff they included. Anything where you were promised a relationship and then the relationship didn't happen, or if you look at the questions they asked in the study, 9 out of 10 of the things they considered rape, I think most people would not.
Well, I would be the last person in the world to belittle or denigrate the pain and suffering that someone goes through because of a sexual assault. I would never say that. But what bothers me is the willingness of so many to believe the absolute worst about their own community.
Well, and about men. I mean, how does that paint young men?
Yeah, exactly.
To think that there's that many roaming rapists out there. I mean, and to be honest with you, I think it denigrates legitimate rape to lump all these, I got drunk and I regretted it the next day, in with somebody who was drugged or held down at knife point.
Yeah.
If you are raped, it's not a joke to you, and it's not something that you can laugh off and say, hey, I think maybe this happened to me. You know. And I have, on multiple occasions, heard girls, well, I think I was raped because I was really intoxicated. And no, if you are raped, you don't think. You know.
Hey, Christine, we're out of time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate your call. And we're almost out of time for Talkback. Now, tomorrow,
I have jury duty.
John's got jury duty, so we will probably have a best of program tomorrow. So I'll find a good one for you. Don't worry. We thank you for your calls this morning, 721-1290, 1-800-568-5309. Get out and please drive safely. The roads are a little bit slick. And so we hope to see you tomorrow for Montana Morning at 6 and Talkback back at 10.